I will just put it here. Okay. So it is Monday night. What is up? And I figured since like I'm in the spirit of like making I wanted to just make a video, and this is gonna be for the tube of the YouTube. And since I am a WoW player, I'm just gonna make a WoW video. And this video is gonna be on tier lists. Hopefully I can keep it under an hour. That'd be great. So that would be sick. But this is gonna be a tier list maker of all WoW expansions. Here, if you see over here, I have the S expansions, including vanilla. Is vanilla on here? Yeah, it's right here. A, B, and then I have F because that's what I feel like the drop off is. And then I have the worst shit I have ever seen, which will be reserved for the first one we are doing. Get the fuck off me, dude. This will be reserved for the first Wild Tier expansion that I'm doing. And here are my factors. Gosh darn it, dude. Here are my factors. So I have all WoW expansions, WoW Classic, and this is important because it's an alliance point of view, which I actually feel like makes a huge difference whether or not you played alliance or horde, because toward the later expansions, like a lot of people have been going horde because it's just better. They just have better racials, and alliance has really been dying. You know, it's like the boomer race, the boomer whatever. So like I'm like one of the last surviving alliance members, dude. I feel like, so that'll definitely have an impact. If you're a horde player, then it's probably going to be a lot different, I would say. And this is the 6 things I'm basing it off of. Zones and questing, I think, and this is kind of an importance. So I would say this is like kind of the most important shit, you know, like what's my experience playing like the actual game, you know, going through questing, because that's what World of Warcraft is, you know, initially, is you're going through zones and you're questing, you know. So what's my experience doing that in each expansion? PvP, I like to PvP, so it's kind of self-explanatory. This one is level of care put in. How's the game flow? I'm usually a person who likes to. Lately, I've been playing. You know, I'd play the expansion and then I'll take like 6 to 8 months off. You know, by like 9.1, 8.1. This is what I mean by game flow. Is like, how is it retaining me in the expansion, and sociability, like how active is the game, and basically like all of this can be summed up as like, why am I logging in every day? Random systems, I know in Shadowlands you're thinking like covenant system, conduits, but also like just in earlier expansions too, like the fucking talent system, you know, like that shit's just as important. How are PvP systems, how are like, you know, I know systems like a trigger word and it's gonna get people, you know. So whatever, I'll just go through that. Rating and PvE max level shit. So like, I mean, I do raid sometimes and it's like okay, but it's not like a huge deal. But like the raids, some raids are noteworthy in some expansions. And random intangibles, miscellaneous. This will get to when we do like TBC and Wrath of the Lich King, the earlier expansions, where they just kind of have that magic to them, where like the thing I think of is like in TBC Midsummer, like the Midsummer Fire Festival in TBC, like original TBC was probably one of the best like memories I've had. And same with Wrath of the Lich King, like just putting out fires, getting experience, leveling up. It really is, it's actually crazy, like just like it's like how much level of care they put in to like make those expansions so memorable, you know, compared to now. So we're gonna go from the bottom up. So I'll show the tier list one more time. Where is this bitch? Yeah, right here. We're gonna go through the bottom up, and I'm just gonna like teleport because I'm playing a mage. So I'm just going to teleport through every expansion, go through some of the zones. And right now we are on so we're going to start with the lowest one. We are on the worst shit I have ever seen. And judging by the zone I'm in, you can probably guess that it's going to be Battle for Azeroth. This is the worst shit I have ever seen. I don't know how this made it to an expansion. Like, first of all, just going to like look at this guy, dude. Like, I don't care about him at all, dude. Just hitting the map like makes me want to vomit. I see this corruption like these assaults, dude. It's giving me a headache already. These world quests I could not give less of a shit about. There's so many flight points. I do appreciate how they added an alliance zone here. The zone of Tierguard Sound is the most boring zone I think I've ever done. I didn't even do the quests here when I started leveling up. We can go over here. A lot of players give commendations to Stormsong Valley, saying it's a beautiful zone. It's really pretty, and I guess I would kind of agree with that. But there's just like the questing within Stormsong Valley, especially as an alliance character, the questing was very mind-numbing. I didn't really enjoy it at all. It was like, I do like just going through here, like I have something to say about this, is like this used to be an alliance place, right? Brandon Dem's over here. But like you would enter this place over here and it was a very nice looking location. Like this is a very nice house. There's like an inn over here, and this is like one of the strong points of this horrible expansion, is that you would have this, but then Blizzard just like, they put so much effort into making this like a beautiful place, and it really is. But then this is how Blizzard fucks up pretty much every expansion lately, is there's no reason for you to be here, like at all, you know? It's like, why should I ever come in this room? Why should I ever check any of this shit out? And really, you can't think of a reason, you know? There's no reason why you should ever come over here. And that's where I feel Blizzard really dropped the ball, is like there's no incentive. There's no incentive to come out here and explore all this. The extra shit you have to do is terrible. Yeah, so I played Old Deer in, I guess, 8.1 or something. And Old Deer was cool, I guess. After that, I quit. Let's see, what's it? I mean, I guess there's some bot questing right over here. The music itself, I mean, the music is okay, I would say. You know, I everyone gives credit to the art team, which is fine, but like, it's, you have all this art team shit, but then there's no reason to even be here, you know. So I don't know. The PvP was the best in pre-patch, and maybe when the game came out. I will say the PvP was really strong when BFA first came out. That's when we had that 2018 BlizzCon with like the Gosu crew, and Sea-Doo ended up winning. I think the most memorable BlizzCon was actually in BFA, but that was for such a short period of time, and then after that it just lagged and lagged and lagged. That no one liked the Azerite gear. Like, I don't even think I have any more Azerite gear. I'll teleport back. But the Heart of Azeroth, dude, like Magni sucking your dick like every 5 seconds. Like, come on, I can't like, I cannot handle Magni sucking, like, champion do this, champion do this. There's a huge sword in Silithus that I think is still there. Like, I don't think this has been resolved. The trade winds market was cool, but I thought what would have been cooler is if they made the whole city an Alliance city. But really what it is just this little area over here. So I don't really. Also, like, it was not fun. Even running by this dude just makes me like want to vomit again. Like, these campaign quests were useless. There's these. Where's the table? There's like this island expedition thing. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, who thought of this? Like, and thought it was a good idea, man. Like, and then Warfronts, Arathi Highland. Like, it was literally a collector's expansion. Like, I'm sure, like, if you like to collect mounts and random crap, like, I don't know. Let's go over to the Horde side because I want to see some of the Horde zones. I don't even know who to talk to. This how? No. Oh, it's at the top, I think. Just Vol'dun, I guess. And then... So here's the Vol'dun. Vol'dun's like... This is from an Alliance standpoint. So, like, from an Alliance standpoint, Vol'dun's like kind of very boring. I remember I didn't enjoy questing here. Nazmir was like really whatever too, and Zuldazar I was never in because it was the Horde place. So take that for what you will. I'll just go over some of the other stuff. So the systems that they had in, well, the main system that they had in was the Azerite system, but there were also other systems like the World Quest system, which I don't know why they're still in the game because I don't think anyone enjoys World Quest. Like they enjoy the rewards that people get from World Quest, but the World Quests themselves are just like no one wants to quest at max level repeatedly. You know, this is just a daily system. That's really what it is. Progressing through, I'll probably go into Nazmir before I do my next one. But progressing through the expansions, like the patches, I thought the game probably had the most potential with corruptions. And I know corruptions are a very controversial topic, but they Blizzard actually could have saved the game with corruptions, and they just didn't put. The vendor came out late. They just purposefully wasted your time. No one wanted to do the visions. They tried to make visions like the Mage Tower, which is like not true at all. The Mage Tower is actually what inspired me to even put this list together, because I remember how just like what a great invention it was. And they tried to just shove visions down your throat and be like, "Hey, this is a Mage Tower," and it's like, no, it's not. It's terrible. I get like all the affixes suck. Even in Mythic Plus, like all the affixes just suck. I remember doing all the Mythic Plus at like 15s or 20s, and it's just not fun. So yeah, going through Nazmir, there's nothing here that strikes me as like a nostalgic feeling. Like, again, dude, with these zones, there's just no reason to be here. So it really kind of killed WoW, especially coming off Legion, which was honestly a success. The way WoW was going. So I remember I took like 8 or 9 months off. Like, we're not even getting into Nazjatar and stuff, which was just like also boring. I think they could have saved it with corruptions if they had the vendor, and if you weren't forced to do visions all the time. But besides that, this is just like it's the worst shit I've ever seen. Like, I honestly thought Shadowlands was probably going to be the death of WoW, because BFA set it up so much to fail. Yeah, but now we're going to teleport to our next zone of the expansion list, which will be in the F tier, and that will be Shadowlands. So we'll go to Oribos. Actually, like, I don't even want to go to Oribos, dude. Like, Shadowlands, for all of it, maybe I'm being too critical of it being an F, but it is a very bad expansion so far, and I don't know if it will be any better. I'm just gonna go to Ardenweald because that's the only zone I can really stomach. I do think Ardenweald was definitely a positive out of this. The questing, I think Asmongold said it was cosmetic, and I kind of agree. Like, the questing was kind of irrelevant. I do enjoy Ardenweald. I think like Ardenweald is probably their best work that they've done. It's probably their best zone that they've done since WoD. With like all, and the music's okay. Again, there's this question of what's the reason I should be here. You know, why should I even be flying through here? You know, like, what am I doing here? Which is a really big problem that Blizzard has, is that they make like beautiful zones like this, and then they can't answer these questions of like, why should I be in these zones? Because there's no reason I should, like, you know, like, why should I kill this thing? You know, I don't know. But Shadowlands is actually, I would put it in the worst shit I've ever seen, if not for the first month of the expansion, which was actually very solid. It brought a lot of people back to the game. It seemed like Blizzard actually cared about the game, you know, which was good. But then they just, I knew Shadowlands was going to be on the decline when they introduced that that daily week, or that weekly quest where it's like, go kill the world boss or something. And I'm like, oh no, dude. And they were starting to use those BFA systems again with the retention shit. And it really just turned into just like a bad expansion. Even though I took like 5 months off after, like, I didn't play 9.1. Just flying out here makes me think of how I remember how buggy the game is now. Like, the coders who work for the game, like, are very bad. Because there was a time where I was dueling my brother and I would die every duel. The game is filled with bugs. It's rough, man. I came back to hit Glad, and I would say that the PvP is like candy, really. Like, it's really fun, and it gives you like a big euphoria hit when you, like, you know, when I hit someone with combust or something and I, you know, nuke them or something like that. But I don't think the PvP is like really super intensively skilled this patch or this expansion. The zones themselves are, besides Ardenweald, like, Maldraxxus is like very meh. I think the music in Maldraxxus is like pretty good, I will say, but other than that, I don't really like it at all. Bastion it kind of looks like the Afterlife, which is maybe what they were going for, but then, like, you realize if you're like questing in the zone and no one's there, it's so dead, it feels like terrible. And then Revendreth is the worst zone in the game, because before mounting, before you could fly, it was you had to run around, and it was so vertical, and it was like going through Suramar without a flying mount, which again is like, why isn't flying in the game from day one, you know? So I think it's pretty obvious, like, it's pretty self-explanatory why Shadowlands is an F. There's not really anything redeeming about it. The profession system is terrible. Like, there's no reason that professions have been bad since, you know, like WoD, probably. MoP, they were okay. But yeah, so I will put these two on like the two worst ones, and I think every other expansion besides these two is actually in either an S, an A, or a B. So this next expansion that I'm gonna put up is gonna be a B. So that's a huge jump from an F to a B, but so, like, it's actually good. Like, I enjoyed thoroughly playing through it, and yeah, these last two have not been good, and I don't think 9.2 is gonna save it either. Like, it's gonna be the same shit. So the next expansion is, actually let me just use this, going to be Warlords of Draenor, which is right here. So this is WoD. Immediately you think of like your garrison, because that's where I'm going right now. From an alliance standpoint, I think a lot of Horde players actually really don't like WoD. They say it's the worst expansion ever. You have this jukebox here, which is actually really cool. I'll keep it on Night Song. We'll play Invincible. But this is really it's really not a bad expansion, especially if you played Alliance. I think Alliance players actually very much thoroughly enjoyed Shadowlands Valley. This is probably my favorite zone, one of my favorite zones of like the entire game. It's utterly beautiful. It's crazy how like much thought they put into it. It is littered, I will say, with all these treasures on my map. There are a little too many flight points, but that's just me being picky about it. But the zone itself is a very, it's serious. It's just a masterpiece. Like it's honestly crazy how great this zone is. And I remember questing through it when I was 80 or 90 to 100. It was like 90 and 91. And I was doing these quests, and like every quest, like the story was good. You would come up here to this vale, you would do these quests over here. It was like super refreshing. Like I really enjoyed this shit. And then you would come up to Elador, maybe. Yeah, you would come over here, do the quests over here, and then there were little side quests for your garrison, which at the time seemed really cool. Like you're improving your garrison, but then it turned out that the garrison just flopped. You know, like it was not a good. I wouldn't say it's not good, but it definitely needed some improvements that it didn't get. But you go to Elador, and then you come to this fucking beast over here, which was like crazy, dude. Like this used to be Black Temple over here, which is just a crazy zone. Like it's crazy. This area is just like fucking phenomenal. And there's this huge cinematic with Velen over here and stuff. So and you have this like little amphitheater over here. Like they could have actually just done so much with this shit. It's crazy. I'm just like marveling in how beautiful it is. Like I just like Shadowlands Valley, but going through the rest of WoD, the reason why I have it at a B, not an F, it's not the worst shit I've ever seen. Like this thing, like why is this here? Like I don't give a fuck. Just let me enjoy the game. I don't need extra buttons, you know. I think WoD was kind of the start of like borrowed power a little bit. WoD also had some, in terms of class design, it had some very questionable talent choices. I remember as a mage I had the prismatic crystal, which was not fun. There was a class pruning, which was like the big one. It took away like most of my buttons. Like we're still going through Shaman. Like this is huge. I'll go through one of my other favorite ones, which is Talador too. So the talent system it was average, probably a little lower than average. In terms of PvP, Ashran was a major flop, I would say. I didn't like Ashran at all, but like I'm trying to just speak like in general. I don't think like Ashran was a huge hit. Ashran was mostly for people who wanted to farm stuff, like mounts or like the predator titles and shit. I think this is where there's a spot over here where Nerzul is, but maybe it's not here. Maybe it's here? Maybe not. But we'll go to Talador, and then while I'm still talking. And the raids were actually, there were very few raids, but Highmaul was a very good raid. It was in the grand, well placed. The story of the raid made sense. Like the ogres, you know, they were rulers before the Burning Crusade, and we kind of helped like wipe them out a little bit. Spires of Iraq was a good zone. Tanan was whatever. Gorgron was probably the worst zone. I haven't really been to Frostfire, and the Grand is like big nostalgia hit. And Talador is like probably the second best zone here besides Shadowmoon. But the quests and stuff, again, like I think this is dumb. Like this orb thing was dumb. The game design in terms of like your character was just compared to Mop was massively pruned. But I will say like I did thoroughly enjoy WoD. And when I quit WoD, I think I quit WoD for most of the expansion after it came out. But when I quit WoD, I didn't feel like, wow, this game sucks, I'm just gonna quit. It was just like, well, I've kind of done everything I needed to do here, and I feel good about where my character's at, and also I have IRL stuff, so that's why I think it's good. What other raids were there? There was Hellfire, which was a good raid. What's the last one? I'm missing one. Oh yeah, Blackrock Foundry. Blackrock Foundry wasn't that good. It had some cool fights. I liked the Hands and Friends fight when I was still raiding competitively. Not competitively, but like seriously. Anything else? I think they put a lot of, if we're just going back to here, they put a lot of care into the game. You could tell like they gave a fuck. Other than that, it just like, people complain not enough content, which is like fair, I guess. But I think they tried to achieve everything they wanted to achieve, and then they just didn't build on top of that. Like if they had made that Shatrath raid, that would have been sick too. And if they had just built on the garrison stuff, but I think a lot of people just quit doing garrison shit, and they kind of panicked about it. But yeah, this is Talador. Talador always had the best music. This used to be at Terakar Forest. So that's WoD. I actually come and fly through here if I'm ever like, sometimes as I'm streaming, I'll just fly through here. That's how cool I think WoD is. And I think it's just massively like underrated as an expansion. But that being said, it is the third worst expansion on this list. So next expansion I will be teleporting to is Mop, which is going to be the fourth worst. Oh wait, that's Legion. What am I doing? Mop is the fourth worst expansion, especially from an alliance standpoint. Maybe from Horde it was better, but, and that's not to say Mop was bad. Mop had some great class design, I will say, but at the same time, Mop got rid of the original talent system, and I think the talent system that it replaced it with now is complete dog shit. Like just even looking at these talents, like this is literally useless. Like this row of talents is literally useless. It should have been removed from the game like 3 years ago. I mean, Blast Wave is like, it's maybe picked by like 0.01% of players, and it's usually for a meme. I mean, these talents compared to the old ones, I'd take the old ones any day. At least the old ones, you had to like, you could create your own build and create an identity, but now everything's so clear cut. You just like, you just pick this all the time, you know. And if you're raiding, you just go Searing Touch. God, dude, these assaults, man. This is just why BFA is so bad. the zones themselves, I think Pandaria had some of the worst zones too. I maybe this is just like me being biased or something, but this I didn't like any of these zones really. I didn't enjoy being in any of these. Like maybe a lot of people like the Jade Forest, but I did not like being in here. The reason why I would put Mop above WoD is because Mop had some great class design, which really saved it, especially for PvP. For PvE, it was probably the hardest class design I've ever had. I played a Frost Mage, and it was thoroughly rewarding to play a Frost Mage correctly in Mists of Pandaria. Like these zones just suck, man. Like I don't know. I there's nothing to do here. I don't know. I just don't dig the vibe. Kunlai, Jade Forest, Valley of the Four Winds. Actually, Valley of the Four Winds was kind of like cool as like a cooking spot. But Kraersang, like with this horde domination stuff, I didn't really care about that much. In terms of raids, there were a lot of kind of like whatever ones in the beginning. There was Heart of Fear. What was the first one? Mogashon Vaults, which is here. And then there was is it in here? Hello. It's like, yeah, the Veiled Stair. Yeah, there's Terrace of Endless Spring. And then Heart of Fear, which was over here. No, over here. And those were all whatever, but I will say Throne of Thunder was a very good raid. Very solid raid. And they really topped it off with at the end with Siege of Orgrimmar. I think Siege of Orgrimmar is probably the best raid I've ever done. I've only been raiding really since like Cata, but I have done like most of the raids, and I think Siege of Orgrimmar is like a really just a well done raid. All of the fights are just super good. I would go in there, but I kind of need to hurry this up. Like this is a very good raid, so I think the raiding in PvE was solid. They still had dailies with like this. Maybe I'm at the wrong spot, but with the Isle of Thunder, I didn't like Isle of Thunder at all. I know a lot of people did like Isle of Thunder, but dude, any place where you can't fly is just kind of ass, honestly. If you can't fly, like it's same with Timeless Isle. Like I like Timeless Isle better than Isle of Thunder just because there was more room. You felt because an Isle of Thunder was so congested, you were getting dismounted all the time. But miscellaneous stuff, they had like the dagger that would keep the sacrificial dagger, that was cool. A bunch of other like little trinkets and stuff. You could go to the Isle of Giants back here, and you could farm this Bone White Primal Raptor, which was it's one of my favorite mounts because I farmed it in Mob. I would just do this after raid. I would just farm this thing and just kill the elites by myself. So I really like, and there was also the like Undasta and the Warbreakers that you could kill, or whatever those things are called, Warbringers. To get those mounts. So there was some content to do. I will say I think I played Mop like most of the expansion. Like I don't really think I took any of Mop off. So that says something in itself. We're starting to get to expansions where I didn't really take time off during the expansion. So that's when you know it's like they kind of cared about the game, and there was a lot of, I think the social aspect of Mop too for the people who stayed was very good. So that's the positives. I kind of already went through the negatives in the beginning. So now we have Mop, and we're gonna go to the next one, which is, God, there's not even like a good teleport for this. I guess here. So the next expansion, so we're getting to like the middle of the pack now, is Cata. Pretty generic list so far, honestly, except maybe the mop was a little surprising, but I think everyone would kind of expect this right now. Maybe there's always going to be haters who are going to put like TBC, you know, in like a F because, oh, well, TBC Classic now is dead. Like, the game's so dead, it's so boring. So, but like, that's not true at all. So now we have Kata. Where's a good place to go for Kata? I guess I can, all the zones are in Stormwind. So I'm just going to fly through some of the Kata zones. My favorite is probably Hyjal. And then, but all the other ones are whatever. So Kata zones were very meh. I think they were especially meh if you include the underground one. Whatever it's called. Vashir. This zone was absolutely terrible. I think they learned from this. They're like, we're never making underground zone again. But that zone was awful. Hyjal was a very good zone. I would say Hyjal is their best zone. But what's funny about Hyjal is like, Hyjal is kind of already mapped out. Like, they had Hyjal in vanilla WoW. So they just did a couple alterations with it. But it was really cool. I think Firelands... Honestly, I think Firelands is going to be like one of the best raids in the game. It's up there with Siege of Orgrimmar. It's just a fantastic raid. So that's, I would say Kata was very good with that. For the most part, it had the old talent system, which I thoroughly enjoyed. All 3 specs of Mage Revival, which as a Mage player, like, I take that into consideration. There wasn't a really big difference between Horde and Alliance in Kata, which was good. Also, Kata was really the last expansion where Arcane Mage was just played and like played consistently. I'll just do an Alice Razor run because I don't have the mount. But I'm just gonna go through Firelands while I'm like going through here. The PvP was in Kata was very solid, arena wise, and like I think it was pretty much like the height of Battlegrounds was in Kata. Like, a lot of people like the rated Battlegrounds. There's so much crap in here, dude. Like, I remember just getting Shanox out or whatever, the first guy with the 2 dogs. Like, you had to kill so much of this crap. It was so crazy. But like the bosses besides that, like Bethlak was good. Rylith is still one of my favorite fights because it's actually a huge like communication thing about which foot you want to push, doing the damage in order to push the foot. Alice Razor is one of my favorite fights too because as an arcade mage you would get this haste buff when you flew up into the air, and that would be crazy. I'm just gonna do the Alice Razor fight real quick. Maybe I can one-shot Major Domo. Yep. Easy. And then you had the Gatekeeper fight, which was like a DPS race, which that was fun. The Major Domo fight was really cool with the Fire Kitty. And then Ragnaros himself was a pretty good fight. So this is like one of my favorite raids for sure. Besides that, the level of care they put into the game, I would say kind of dropped off because this was the first one since Wrath of the Lich King. They kind of tore up the old world, which in retrospect was a very bad move because now no one gives a fuck. At the time it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But come on, give me the mount. Dude, I've been farming this thing forever, I swear. Yeah, so the level of care they put in, it definitely dropped off since Wrath of the Lich King. They didn't make like a whole new world. They kind of just tried to tear up the old world. I will say the new dungeons they put in after Firelands and the Caverns of Time. Like, where is it? Tenaris, Kalimdor. Can I click in on here? Damn, I can't click in. But they put in 3 new dungeons that were really fun. So, that's cool. Like, this guy was a cool fight. But the 3 new dungeons they put in were really well done. It was like the Eye of Eternity or whatever. There was a Stratholme dungeon, if I'm not mistaken. That was earlier. And what else? There was one with Illidan. That was the well. That was the well one. But they were all cool. And there was one with Thrall too. So that was cool. The PvP was good. Rating was good. I would just say, like, of all these things, I would say Kata nailed it with all of this. But then this is kind of like the main criteria. Like, this is, in my opinion, is the most important one. Like, how are the zones and how is the questing? And I think Kata really fell off compared to Wrath of the Lich King with zones and questing. They kind of focused toward the end game, which kind of took away from, like, you know, you had to quest in Najir, which wasn't fun. You had all this shit that wasn't fun. So overall, though, I would say, like, Kata B tier expansion. All right, so now we have 4 left. The first 3 expansions in Legion. So what do you think? The next one is going to be... Is it going to be Legion? It is going to be a Dalaran. So this next one is going to be Wrath of the Lich King. But this is going to go in an A. Now, Wrath of the Lich King is a fantastic expansion. There's not a lot to say that's bad about it. You had Dalaran, which is a fan. It's grown on me, honestly. Dalaran used to be like whatever to me, but it's actually just a great major city. And something with Kata, not to like go back to Kata, but Kata didn't have a major city. The major city was Stormwind again. And I always think expansions are better if they make a new city for everyone to hang out with, like to hang out in. It's fun hanging out in like the old cities and stuff, but like it is cool if they build a whole new city for everyone to be in. That's why Legion was very good too. There's actually a guy here. I'll get on the book. Actually, I'll get on this mount. But here's Old Dow. The zones and questing are in Wrath of the Lich King are immaculate. They're very good. Especially as a Horde player. I feel like Horde players even like this more. I'll just fly through some of my favorite zones. So, I think just because I'm an Alliance player, I really just like Borean Tundra. Because of Caldara too was cool. Even though it's kind of boring. And then Grizzly Hills too was good. And then, but all of these are just very solid zones. They have a lot of depth to them. Like I can even remember just like as I'm like coming over here, there's a huge cinematic over here about, I think it's when Bolvar fought the Lich King or something. And then they got ambushed by the trolls. So just like everything's like super cool. I'll talk about the PvP. Wrath PvP was odd, like it was busted if you were a Death Knight. I will say also, like this kind of goes in the miscellaneous part, but the Death Knight quests and the intro Death Knight shit was so fun. Like with the Tyrion and stuff, like I don't know if they still have that now. They probably don't. Oh, shut up, Wintergrasp. But the Death Knights were pretty cool because you could be like a Frost Death Knight, you could be Unholy, You could be blood, and each spec initially could tank. And some of the best specs of Death Knight were all 3 specs, which was really cool. There was like Frostfire Mage, Shakaden. You could really multi-spec in Wrath, which was really cool because it became another way of how to like identify yourself, really. I'll fly through Borean Tundra. In terms of the care put in, this was like Blizzard at its finest. Like, a lot of people say this is the best expansion ever. I mean, it's up. Like, obviously it's an A, so there's a reason why. Like, Nax Ramus, they had Obsidian Sanctum, which was fantastic for 3 Drakes. Nax was great. Ruby Sanctum to give people more content. Like, would Blizzard do that now? Like, hey, we killed the Lich King, like, we need more content. Would Blizzard be like, oh yeah, here's a raid, you know, like, we just had this on the side, but like, since you guys finished so quickly, here's another raid, you know? Like, I don't know if they do that now. Here's Borean Tundra, dude. It's ugly as fuck, but it's just like, I don't know, it just has a place in my heart that I don't know why. There's like this goblin shit over here. It's just like pretty different. It is an ugly zone though, I will say, but it's very like, it's very simple, which, I don't know, it has some charm to it. Then you have this Koldara over here with, there were so many raids in Wrath. Now that I'm like thinking about them, like there was the Eye, or the Oculus, whatever. What else? Yep, the Vault of Archivon, which was the PvP one, which was also a fun raid, even though it was a PvP raid. So that was interesting. You had Trial Grand Crusader. You had Ice Crown. And then you had the raid of all raids, probably the best raid in the game, which was Old War. And Old War is, if you guys ever are bored in WoW or something, just go check out Old War. Besides Flame Leviathan, which really, it sucks that was the first fight because it's just the worst shit ever. But just check out the fights in Old War. Check out like it's really a masterpiece. It's like Blizzard at its finest. So that was a fantastic raid. Let's see if I'm missing any other raids. I think that's it. But I had a lot of raids. So I think Wrath definitely hit the mark. It was just like, there's so much lore in it. Like the story, it probably had the strongest story too with the Lich King. So props to that as well. Like, I think the Lich King was even a cooler story than the Illidan story. So yeah. Alright. Down to the last 3. Fuck you, Google. Okay. So we have Classic. I'm gonna put Vanilla and Classic. They're kind of the same thing. Like, obviously one's 15 years later, but the game itself is like kind of the same. I will say Blizzard fucked up Classic, but all right. Next, we'll get on the book just because before we teleport out. Next is going to be Legion. And I know I can't believe I'm putting Legion ahead of Wrath, but Legion's just a fantastic expansion. Like, it brought WoW out of the depths. I thought these Covenant halls were kind of cool. Definitely better than the Shadowlands ones, because at least there were more people for your class and whatever. I don't know. I think it was cool. They reinvented Dalaran. It's more modernized. So, I don't know. Legion had it was just a very interesting expansion. It was when Mythic Plus first came out and was very successful. You come over here and do this Mage Tower, which really put it over the top. Actually, I'm going to go Surmar. I think the Mage Tower really is what put Legion like over the top. Is like this was an activity you could do just in your free time. It was purely cosmetic. It was purely for yourself, and if you did it, you felt really good about yourself. And it's hard for Blizzard to do something like that just in general. The only other thing, like one thing else I can think of is like in classic WoW, if you're trying to go get a flight point and you have to avoid like high level mobs and stuff, or if you're trying to do a quest, you know. But with Legion, they had something that was really tough in the Mage Tower. Now this is Suramar, which I think is just this city itself is just fucking. It's honestly fantastic. What I wish they did with Suramar. See, a Legion had this shit though, which doesn't. I hate this. What I wish they did with this is after we killed Gul'dan, I wish the Alliance and Horde just took this over and we could have just been in this as our new city. Like, this would have been really sick if it was just our city instead of, like, their city. Yeah, dig. But, Suramar was cool. The 3D shit before you could fly was not cool. All the other zones, honestly, were not... They were not that good. I don't know. The art was good, but the questing itself was, like, okay. But Legion really just had like a lot of intricacy to it, and it was, people are gonna hate me for putting it above Wrath, but I really do think like it had like a bigger it's just more refreshing to, I feel like, play Legion than it is to play Wrath. But because Wrath, you could burn out really easily, and there wasn't a lot of shit to do after you hit level 80. Say you were just doing raiding. I mean, if you were just raided, that was your whole life, you know? But in Legion, like, if you were bored, you could go do the Mage Tower. You could go farm something. Like, Legion did introduce world quests, which were garbage. Like, 100% garbage. Terrible invention. But, like, besides that, Mythic Plus, like, Wrath didn't have Mythic Plus, and the dungeons in Legion were, like, pretty solid, I want to say. I enjoyed High Mountain probably the best, just because I thought the quests were the best, because they gave the most XP. But it had some really interesting zones. Dude, shut up. Really good artwork. The lore was really solid. And really, whenever I play Legion, I'm just always like, not, I'm like, how did Blizzard go from like WoD, BFA, Shadowlands, and then in the middle of all that shit, they just made a really good expansion. And it's like, it's hard for me to just admit it. Like of all the dog shit we've been experiencing recently, they just make a good expansion randomly. And I have to appreciate it, man. Like, I have to appreciate Legion. What else? Systems. So you had your artifact weapon. That was interesting. I think a lot of PvEers hate Legion because the legendaries, man, it was unfair. People would be doing so much DPS if they got the right legendary. It wasn't fair until they fixed it, which is I guess a fair complaint. But like, at the end of the day, like, it's fun to do good DPS and raids and shit. But like, if that's all you're focused on, it's super dumb. I think Blizzard did like, it was really cool to have like legendaries introduced. They should have been very easy to get, but they weren't, you know. But I remember I played Arcane Mage through Legion, and I had the legendary where I got 2 evocation charges, and I just made it work. And it was actually really fun gameplay because I would just always have evocation up when I needed it because I had 2 charges of it. So I thought that was cool. I understand the complaints about, like, you know, getting fucked on legendaries, you know. You want to be on a level playing field when you're competing, but like this is when the momentum of WoW players shifted to like, instead of like working together to kill the boss, which was like the high point of raiding, it was like working together, working by yourself among other people to just do the most damage you can and just beat everyone else. Um, and I say this like I just don't think like that's how WoW should be played. You know, like people need to have the same goal in mind. If you want to have like a parsing raid, you know, you can have like every now and then, but now every raid is a parsing raid, and now everyone cares about parsing, except the very good guilds who rightfully don't give a fuck. But yeah, this is Legion. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than Wrath, but I was very young when I played Wrath. They're both very close though. So now we only have 2 left, and probably pretty obvious. The only question is this an A or is this an S? And Burning Crusade's like an easy S. Pretty easy S. You have Shatwrath right here. Here's Khadgar just chilling. This is the first major expansion of World of Warcraft. It's honestly just a beautiful... This is probably the most beautiful expansion in terms of zones. The questing was very cool. I actually think the questing was much better on Alliance than it was Horde. I think Horde actually got fucked. This was when most people still played Alliance, so Blizzard catered to Alliance, and they gave Horde like the shit end of the stick, you know. But the Burning Crusade was just a phenomenal expansion. I think Blizzard hit like the record high subscriber numbers. That's when Mr. T was doing all the commercials. Ozzy Osbourne just had a massive following for just being a good game. And now when people think of WoW, they don't even think of it as a good game anymore. Even the people who are most loyal to it, they think like, yeah, it can be good at times, but there's a lot of problems with it. Whereas when you're playing the Burning Crusade, you can just tell like this is a very good game. Like when I'm here, I just feel like I'm like everything was done here with care. All the systems have a purpose. There's reasons for me to be in these zones, whether it's like farming or skinning or just questing. Maybe I'm farming for rep here. I do think like the introduction of the dailies was not good on the Isle of Coil de Nas because it set a precedent for dailies, which, you know, are neutral to a below neutral way of how to conduct, you know, player retention. They had the introduction of Blood Elves, which was very cool. See, there's even a guy in here now, like, just doing this escort quest. I don't even know why he's doing it, but he's doing it. There's a thing up here I think you can still teleport to. Where is it? Is there an orb? Is this the orb? Yeah. You can just use this orb. Let me use the orb. It just had a bunch of cool stuff. Oh, okay, that just puts me down. I think this is the orb, it's in here. And you can go up here. And it's like, you go up here. They just had a bunch of cool shit like this. Like, this was, like, I still remember it. Like, that's how much it, like, stuck with me, you know? It's pretty self-explanatory, like, why this expansion was just so good. Like, the dialogue was good. Everyone gave a fuck, man. It's just, like, Blizzard at its max of giving a fuck, dude, about people, about their game, putting the max amount of craft into it, just making badass zones. Like, Nagrand is a fantastic zone. One of the best zones in the game. Same with Zangarmarsh is really cool. Fucking Netherstorm, dude. Like, whoever thought of that is amazing. Great raids. TK, Black Temple. It's fantastic. Just the professions were at an all-time high. Just like people gave a fuck about the game. So that's what I'd say about the Burning Crusade is like this is when my dad really started playing too. So and when I started playing was in the Burning Crusade. So not much more to be said about that. People who played the Burning Crusade will know that the Burning Crusade is a fucking amazing expansion, and there needs to be more of it. Now when you play Burning Crusade, you're like, oh, it's too slow. Like everything's boring. There's one button rotations. But back in the day, like that's not. They were just playing for the times, you know. Like obviously they've sped the game up now, and like if they remade a Burning Crusade right now, they would speed the game up, you know. So it's not their fault. It's just like that's the pace of the game back then. And okay, now where should we go? We all know what the number one's gonna be. It's just gonna be classic fucking WoW. So it's gonna be vanilla WoW, but I played classic, so you can call me a classic Andy, I guess, but I do think classic WoW or vanilla WoW is where WoW comes from. There's a reason why WoW is so popular, and it's because of, you know, classic vanilla WoW. And I think especially as Alliance, it has a huge impact. I'll just go through. I want to go to my favorite zone, which is going to be tough to get to. I'm trying to think. Probably go to Stormwind. So first with vanilla WoW, you just have, when I'm looking at this stuff over here, like the zones in the questing is like this is first by a mile. Like the zones in questing have not been better than in vanilla WoW. This is what the game was all about. So it dominates this by far. The PvP was, even for like a 15-year-old game in WoW Classic, like the PvP was very solid. Max level of care, max sociability with guilds, no LFG system. The talent system is one of the best things they've ever invented, even though now it's, you know, modernized and everyone knows what to pick. The raiding was, they struggled with this for sure. They had good raids, but the PvE shit to do max level, they didn't really think through because... is this... No, this is Stormwind music. But because max level wasn't the game, really. I'm trying to go to Caverns of Time. Please. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna go over one zone, but the WoW Classic or Vanilla WoW really had just like the best zones. So even with, they didn't even have Caverns of Time out, but it was cool. So my favorite zone is Fair Alice, and it's one of my favorite zones in the whole game. And it's like such a quiet zone, like not a lot's going on there, but it's just like you kind of just get immersed in there, especially as an Alliance with Feathermoon. They fucked it up in Cata, but it was great. So I'm probably just gonna leave this like here just to finish off. No, I can't do it. I wish I could do it. But to finish off the video, I'll just show the tier list for a second, and then after that, like here's Tanaris. Like Tanaris has nothing in it, and still it's a nostalgic zone because Gadgetzan was just so important. You had Zul'Farrak. You had the Valley of the Watchers, which was like no one even knew what that was. Alright, dude, I'll do your quest. So crazy, like this music is, the goblin music is phenomenal. You had Thousand Needles when it was not water. And then I'll just finish it off by going through for Alice, and then I'll just end the video. Once again, for Alice, I'll just talk about like the list as a whole. But flying through here is just like, I mean, this is the game. Like, this is, I think, what everyone aspires the game should be like. And it's so simple. Like, we just want to fucking quest with our bros, you know, kill some noobs, level the fuck up, get some loots, get some epics, and fucking just have a good time, you know. And I think there's really, I don't think I've ever felt like that feeling of like euphoria as much as when I like played WoW Classic. And it sounds like pretty like gay, I guess, like the romance I have with it, but like, I don't know, man, it's true. Like, when I played WoW Classic and I got to experience like the rush 15 years later and like leveling up through Goldshire and shit, it was exactly what I expected it would be. It was just like chilling with your bros, fucking leveling up, having a good time, which is what, I mean, that's what everyone wanted, man. So that's why I feel like this is obviously an S, you know? If I could ever get to fucking Feralis, dude. Fuck, man. It sucks they don't play like the music is just kind of weird now. Where in WoW Classic, the music was always better. See, it should... Dude, pet battles are so dumb, I swear. But, yeah, this is the tier list. I guess can I just pull this up? Yeah. Because I'm not going to be moving. So here's the tier list right here. Obviously, fuck me, dude. Alright, I'm just going to stay in one place in Feralis. But just chilling through here, especially as an Alliance character. Holy shit, was this cool. Even doing it in WoW Classic, even leveling up in Feralis through Legion when I leveled a new tune was just it was like such a soothing zone. And I'm not even like a night elf person, but I just like this zone so much. They're playing Kata music too. See, they don't even know what music to play, dude. Like, that's how much the game's kind of messed up right now, dude. But yeah, I guess all these tier lists I'm making are kind of long, and I guess I'm okay with that. But I will try to shorten them later. We'll go to Feathermoon, and then I'll just talk about the tier lists. Feathermoon used to be really cool because you used to have to take a boat to it, but now it's like whatever. There's Daramal over here. Yeah, this is the music I remember. This is the Night Elf music. Really cool. Yeah, it's like I still just feel cool every time I go through Feralis. And you have this. It's not the same Feathermoon. This is another thing where Kata just fucks shit up. It is a cool Feathermoon, but I miss the old Feathermoon. But Classic, there's not much to be said. Like, it's the original game. It had the best zones. I mean, it had three capital cities for each faction. Now we're lucky if we get one for both factions. But I think I'll just end the video over right here. End the stream. And I'll bring up this just to talk about it. So, in order... BFA, the worst shit I've ever seen. It was so bad. Shadowlands, F. Even though it is, I think the only thing keeping it from here is that it's addicting. it's like a candy expansion, and Blizzard knows this. Like where it's not really complicated, but like it just feels really good for some reason. It's still dog shit. Then we have WAD. I'll bring this over here. WAD, then MOP, then Kata, then Wrath of the Lich King, Legion, and then BC and Classic. So if anyone has anything to say, speak now or forever hold your peanuts. But yeah. Hopefully I could literally sit here forever and talk about every expansion, but hopefully I went through enough in this amount of time and showed you all the zones and stuff that, you know, maybe it was comprehensive enough. So yeah, I will end the stream here, end the video here. Please leave your comments, whatever, opinions. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of shit for saying MOP is so low. But I gave my reasons for it, and I think they're pretty valid. And I think people are going to give me shit for not putting Wrath high enough either. I'm already predicting it. But yeah. Alright. Peace. Wait, I can't say peace. Fuck. Yeah. Yeah, it's lit. Alright. Later.